After 39 days of nonstop bombing and late-night social media posts threatening to wipe out Iran's civilization, U.S. President Donald Trump announced that Iran's 10-point ceasefire offer was a, quote, workable basis for diplomacy. Both sides declared victory, and the Strait of Hormuz was on track to reopen. But then, within hours of the ceasefire, Israel ramped up its attacks on Lebanon, killing more than 300 people in one day. Iran then shut down most shipping in and out of Hormuz and insisted that any ceasefire include Lebanon. Against this backdrop, U.S. and Iranian officials are now holding talks in Pakistan's capital, Islamabad. So what are the chances for a real deal? Or do peace and stability remain highly unlikely? Today, we're looking at the issues from two different perspectives. In a moment, we're going to be speaking with Nader Hashemi, who teaches Middle East and Islamic politics at Georgetown University. But first, we're talking with John Bolton, former U.S. National Security Advisor to President Trump in his first term and former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, and he's author of The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. Ambassador Bolton, thank you for joining us. Look, you've been a long-term advocate of regime change in Iran. How do you see things going now?
Well, my objective for some time has been change the regime in Tehran, and military force was certainly one way to do it. I don't think this operation has been particularly well planned from that point of view, and I think that the political impact of the war on Trump domestically is having a very negative effect on his political fortunes, and especially looking toward the midterm election. So whatever chances there were, I think, of achieving regime change are diminishing hourly as Trump tries to get a way out of the conflict so he can attend to domestic political concerns.
But I'm interested from your perspective, or I know that you sometimes talk to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. What would finishing the job mean? Because there don't seem to be many targets left that are militarily valuable. I'm just interested in what an ongoing prosecution of this conflict might have looked like.
Well, real regime change in Iran requires getting rid of the Ayatollahs and the Revolutionary Guard and their ideology. I think Trump is just completely wrong to say that he's achieved regime change, although the regime itself has been damaged in a very significant fashion, not just the former supreme leader, but hundreds of top leaders. The instruments of state power, like the Revolutionary Guard, like the Quds Force, like the besieged militia, have been damaged. But to do this right, you have to plan in advance. You have to build a case for the American people on why regime change is justified. I think there is a compelling case to be made. Trump didn't make it. He didn't prepare Congress. He didn't prepare the allies, and not just the NATO allies. He didn't prepare the Gulf Arab allies or Japan, South Korea, and others in the Pacific who depend on Gulf oil. Most importantly of all, he didn't prepare the opposition. He didn't help them establish better communications, stronger leadership capabilities, provide them with weapons if that was necessary. Trump had made it very clear he wasn't going to put substantial American boots on the ground. I take that as a given in his thinking. So the role of the opposition inside Iran, in conjunction with the military action, becomes all that more important. And Trump, on all these fronts I've just mentioned, as near as I can tell, did very little, if anything.
Do you think, Ambassador, that this is any kind of a learning moment? We did regime change in Iraq. We saw regime change in Syria, but it wasn't done by invasion. You've seen regime change in other places, but there's always tended to be a lot of blowback, huge costs, stress on alliances, and these tend to be multi-decade exercises that the American public quickly tires of, and I would argue sometimes generally don't produce the results they were intended to do. So I'm just interested, is this a learning moment where we have to go back, even with some of the assumptions you have about what you've advocated on regime change, and take another look at that?
Well, I think you have to look at each situation on its own. In the case of Afghanistan, the mistake we made was leaving Afghanistan in the summer of 2021. The Trump deal with the Taliban and the Biden administration carrying it through. I don't think that made the situation in Afghanistan any better for the people there, or certainly not for us. Iraq is more complex. I think the overthrow of Saddam Hussein was carried out very successfully. I think the mistake we made was not regime change.